So first off, we're heading over to South Minneapolis. A woman is shot during an ICE enforcement operation. Now, right now, the protesters are out there. We're getting more and more details on who this woman was. Was she an illegal, as some like to say? Was she a U.S. citizen? And did she deserve what happened to her? Steph, here's what we know so far. The situation is breaking. She was shot during, as I said, the enforcement operation. The federal agents are involved. They're asking the local residents to back up and avoid the area. Obviously, there's protests because we all watched the unfortunate incident. As a matter of fact, we're going to play it here first. Steph, what are your thoughts on the breakdown and what's happening, the clash between the citizens and Homeland Security?
Well, let's back up a little bit. Let me put things into context for everybody.
Let's back it on up.
There's a lot of things going on. January 6th, 5 years ago, we saw the biggest domestic terrorism act in this city on the insurrection. Okay, we just acknowledged the 5th year anniversary of January 7th. Okay, at 9:30 a.m., police shot and killed an unarmed white woman in Minnesota. Let me repeat myself, because this is a historic moment in the United States. On January 7th at 9:30 a.m., police shot and killed an unarmed white woman. So this is where we're at in America. And I know that the black community, black culture doesn't celebrate this, but I know they understand what's happening. Okay, now you asked me the question, was she? Yes, she was an American citizen. She was born in Colorado. She was a mother. She recently lost her husband, from what I understand, and they had a child, and she was in a new relationship now, a same-sex relationship with a woman who was, I believe, was actually in the car. Now, there's a lot of terminology being thrown out. This woman is what we call an observer. Okay. Now, the Trump and the MAGA like to call people agitators. We have a new term that's kind of come out that, I was strictly an observer. It's similar to a witness.
Not an agitator.
She was a witness and an observer. So we know that her car was parked. Her car there, again, we don't have all the details, but there was tons of video.
And so apparently there was 3 vehicles, right? Hers just happened to be one of them.
Right. Well, you know what? We can look at the videos. I just want to focus on her.
Yeah.
Is that her car was? It didn't appear she was being agitating to the people. It appeared you see her wave them by. Okay. Then she goes to pull out. She drives in the direction of the ICE officer that shot her, but it wasn't aggressive. To me, it looked like she was trying to leave. Maybe they said to her, "Hey, don't leave." I don't know, but I have a photograph of a bullet that is straight through the front window into her head. She was shot execution style. And I took a lot of flack for that statement yesterday when they said you don't have all the facts. I'm like, I don't need the facts. I know what an execution style murder looks like. I've been doing this for 20 years, 25 plus years. She was shot through the window into the face. Then, and you can hear it on the tape, neighbors concerned are like, "I'm a doctor, let me help her." And the ICE agents are like, "No, we're not going to allow you." They didn't help her. The ICE agents weren't helping her because they knew the condition of her face. They knew how badly disfigured it was, and they didn't want anybody to see. We are witnessing the murdering of American citizens by ICE agents.
A white, unarmed female American citizen. And you mentioned something earlier. You said, okay, well, black people, obviously we're concerned, but this is what we've been screaming for over 400 years now.
And what I meant.
So now it's like, hey guys, so you see, nobody's immune. Is this a color issue, or is it a class, or is it a socioeconomic issue?
It's not, and I don't want to make it a color issue.
It's absolutely not.
All
but
I
now
was
we're
saying,
starting to see.
Let me finish.
No, let me finish. Let me finish, because I'm actually agreeing with you.
I know.
So it's not a color issue, but I think what white people, white Americans, white global citizens see, especially those that are observing what's happening here in America, can see that, wait a minute, are we so different? Because this is a class issue. It's about control. It's not about color. Color has just been something that's a really good divisive measure. Now you can finish.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
So one thing that the Homeland Security has said is, in Homeland Security, so they're ISIS bosses, the woman was attempting to evade law enforcement in her vehicle. She allegedly drove her vehicle toward an ICE officer. So they're using this to justify shooting when they could have moved out of the way, Steph. You watched the video just like I did.
Look, the situation is, what were they doing there? You know, they shouldn't have been in the neighborhood in the first place. They shouldn't have been in Minnesota. Minnesota's made it the governor, the mayor's made it very clear, we don't want you here. Again, this is Trump and his people trying to agitate us as citizens and, you know, create chaos. This is where we're at in this country. Okay, this is what they want: division, chaos, control. They've already created the division. Check, successful. Chaos, we're in the midst of it. What comes next is control, which is martial law. You know, in every state across. That's what they're going for, and we're well on the way by what happened in Minnesota yesterday. It's a disgrace. It's disgusting. It's shameful. It's terrible. This woman was a poet. She was a writer. She was a mother. She was an American citizen. She had just moved to Minnesota, and she was there strictly out of concern for neighbors that she knew were migrants, that she knew was being targeted by ICE.
Is that why she was there?
Yeah, she was there. They had migrant neighbors that they were concerned about. That's why ICE was there. But, like, you know, these people aren't in her neighborhood weren't gangbangers and drug dealers and murderers.
They may as well be, because she was shot like one.
Right.
So how different are we?
Yeah.
So she was driving one of 3 vehicles that was involved in the crash. We know that she crashed the car into a light pole. And
she was dead.
Yeah, because she had a bullet in her body. The car immediately veered over and hit the light pole. So she actually probably didn't do that.
Right. And let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
Just want to add something about that. Naja, if they wanted to stop the car, you can shoot at the tires, okay? You don't shoot somebody in the face. That is the worst part. I'm a gun advocate. I grew up in a gun culture. You know, if I need to maim somebody, I'm going to shoot them in the foot, the leg, the knee.
You said it, Steph. You said execution style.
He shot her in the face.
You called it. This was an execution, because this also shows a level of experience of the people that are being deployed as ICE agents.
Well,
because if you are an experienced gun holder and you're not gung-ho to enforce big orange man's law, no shade to anybody that loves orange. I'm wearing it today. But would you not?
That's why you're agitated.
And I did not do this on purpose.
Right, that's why I'm agitated.
But would you not first?
Orange.
If you're an experienced shooter, how do I want to stop a person that's running away in a car?
No, you raise a good point. And I talked to my many of my law enforcement friends, and Naja, in that moment, okay, it takes intense training to know what to do and what not to do. And what not to do is what we witnessed. That's not what you do.
Can you talk about the intense training, though? Because are we looking at experienced
people,
or are we looking at some J6ers that are...
Let's call these guys what they are. These are the Proud Boys, that they've moved into positions of authority. Now they're now ICE agents. These are Proud Boys, and you know what the Proud Boys were like. They were running around, doing whatever they were, racially profiling people. Now they've been given badges and guns.
Oof.
and free reign. So we should all be incredibly, incredibly nervous. Seeing Renee murdered, executed by ICE, to me is a turning point in America. It's a January 7th, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. is a turning point in America. And I don't mean to diminish what happened to Rodney King or Trayvon Martin or anybody else that was shot and murdered of color. But what I'm saying is
when innocent white women die, it's more important and it's a different story. And maybe we'll wake up. I don't know if that's what you're saying, but
no, that's not what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, my bad.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's like we're all in this together now. Like, we're all in, we have to realize that nobody is, I'm not going to walk down the street and say, they're not going to shoot me, they're not going to come for me because I'm white. That's off the table now. That's off the table. As of yesterday at 9:30 in the morning, that's off the table.
So the cloak of comfort is coming off of people that otherwise felt a sense of safety and protection because I am not them. I'm not the blacks. I'm not the browns. I'm not the illegal immigrants or the immigrants. I have this cloak of protection on me, but now we're seeing that you might not have it. And how safe do you feel? We have people posing as ICE agents that are legally stopping and frisking average citizens. Like, this is what's happening right now. We're seeing reports of that.
Yeah.
So there's going to have to be some sort of regulations. The gap of the trust was never there between the citizens and ICE because of how they were introduced to us. Like, we saw them yanking people out of their cars and homes.
Right.
And sending
Like savages.
and sending people to concentration camps to ship them off to lands that they've never been, languages that they don't even speak. So now the gap is even widening, but I do think it's intentional. I think.
Well, it is. If you look at the salary base, I mean, they're offering huge bonuses to join ICE. They're offering incredible, like crazy salaries. And the other thing that I want to jump back to what was in that car. She was in the car with her wife. Okay, they were in a same-sex relationship, and I heard the wife say, "That's my wife." I don't know what preceded that gunshot, that shooting in the face, but I'd like to know if there was conversations about them being wives, if there was some homophobia, some involved in that, because these, right, they're going after everybody, all marginalized groups. So they could have been like, these effing fuck you, right? You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know.
We don't know.
But it's something that I would want to know as
But
a
that's
journalist.
not a far out notion to see, we got these two. Because anybody that's different from probably WASPs, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, if you're anything outside of that, then perhaps you are a target. I think even deeper, though, it's not just because now we've seen it on territory where it's not gone before. Because in many cases, many historical books, the white woman is the delicate flower. She's the untouchable. She's the goddess. She's the maternal, matronly being. She's the deity, right? That's how it's been positioned. But when she gets a bullet put through her head in broad daylight, even she, the eternal, delicate goddess, the flower, is not safe. So then who is safe? How about that? Who is safe?
I don't think anybody's safe anymore. The saddest part for me is when you look back at that video over and over again, which I've done and you've done and everybody's done, because there's so many different angles, which is really problematic for ICE. But to hear that doctor's voice and say, "I'm a doctor, I can help," and them refusing her and knowing she's 25 feet away dying alone in that car, and if that doctor had have got to her, could things have been different? I believe so. So there's a lot to this story. There's a lot of layers to it. There's a lot of anger and passion. And the sad part is, this is just the beginning. And I need people to understand that. We are coming into, this is the plan. Know what the plan is. Division, chaos, control. We are now entering into chaos. Look at 2026. We're what, 9 days in?
We're just a couple
we started
days
a war
in.
with Venezuela. We're 5-year anniversary of the insurrection. We're
riot.
threatening war in other countries. We've got ICE murdering white people now. I mean, it's not even the second week of January.
One thing about it is I remember being a kid and when we were learning about the Holocaust, and I would see photos of Hitler doing his thing, and I would see legions of lemmings, men in this uniform, wearing the swastika, marching to do Hitler's bidding. And I'm like, how are these people so dumb? How did Hitler convince these people to take human beings from their homes and put them in ovens?
It's happening right now.
How did one
It's happening
leader,
right now.
dictator, convince these people? So when I look at the ICE agents that put these uniforms on and they've been emboldened and given this fake ass power, I say that's how it was done. It starts little by little. The indoctrinating started with these guys early. There takes a special phenotype of brain probably to become an ICE agent.
Right, and the other problem with the Minnesota situation is, New York, where we are, we're a sanctuary city.
Right,
Chicago is a sanctuary city. Minnesota is not, and what that means is the police have to work with ICE. I talk to my friends here
Even if
and
they
in
don't
Chicago.
want to.
Right, they have to cooperate with ICE. So now the Minnesota Police Department unwillingly is under scrutiny.
Mm-hmm.
What was their relationship in this? What was their involvement? What was their role? I mean,
do they want to be there? Because like you said, this is a sanctuary city. So here we know
Minnesota's not a sanctuary. Oh,
yeah, here
New York,
we're
right,
in New York
right.
City.
Yeah.
Here, if we see ICE, we know the cops are different. Like we know that because that's what we're taught.
Right.
You see the same thing in Chicago. But
Right.
even if these police officers have opposing views to what's happening with ICE, they're doing the damn jobs.
Right, and now the riots are happening, right, in Minnesota, the protests and the riots, and I would hate to see the Minnesota Police Department be
wrongfully
the recipients or the victims of riots when we don't have all the information about what they're involved in. But we know for a fact that this guy was an ICE. There was no discrepancy in that, because you asked the question at the beginning. She was murdered by an ICE agent, by a gunshot through her car window into her face, straight on, and 2 other bullets to the side. Completely unnecessary.
uncalled for, unnecessary, and you did.
It's a sad day.
The shooter did a poor job, and we know that Minnesota has been under fire anyway. Like we saw what happened last week with the Somalians, with the daycare incident, and the propaganda that's gone into that. So it seems like the perfect breeding ground to elicit and make fertile this grooming hatred.
Right.
Because now we have young boys that want to be ICE agents when they grow up, and they're seeing the power and control that they can have. And who is on the opposite side of that? Who do we have on the opposite side to say, hey guys, this has happened historically before, and this leads to the downfall of civilizations, right? Mm-hmm. How long do you think we have before it all comes crumbling down?
I don't know. I just feel like, watching this, like we don't want Venezuela. We don't want Greenland. You know who does? Putin does. And everyone's like, oh, we're going to get bombed. No, we're not. No, we're not, because they're laughing at us. We're destroying ourselves. We are, as a society, as an American culture, you're watching and witnessing and being a part of the dismantling of America. It is happening right now. And if you don't believe me, if you're in denial, if you think I'm crazy, then you're not awake. I'm sorry.
All right.
It's happening.
Boom. Said it. You heard it here first, folks. Are we ready to move on to the next story? Not that it gets any better, but
your legs look really shiny today, by the way.
I put on Vaseline before we
sitting
started.
here listening to you staring at
because I know I'm like ashy, so I put on Vaseline. It's right over there. I got a big tub.
Slide right off.
I glop it on and pop it.
And just to make you guys know, when we yell at each other, she's like my little sister from another mister. So don't come at her like you interrupted. It's fine.
Yeah. Let's move over to this missing Chicago CPS teacher.